10 games you shouldn't play if you suck at video games. And we all know I don't suck. There we go.
The more
you got last in the game ranks, you
games,
did.
Better, but, well, in some ways, not necessarily in skill. Actually, kind of the opposite. And
I bet you I've beaten almost every game on
there
this
are certain corners
list.
of the gaming world. It doesn't
I bet you I have.
go. Hi, folks, it's Falcon, and today
What's up, Falcon?
10 games you shouldn't play if you suck at video games.
Oh, look at that.
Starting off with number 10, it's
Number
a escape
10.
from Tarkov. This hardcore multiplayer extraction shooter is known for two things.
Well, I'm not gonna.
Controversial developers and its utterly unforgiving difficulty. There's a baseline expectation challenge.
So I
when
do suck
coming
at
into
Tarkov.
any online game because
I'm not
real
gonna lie.
people
I bought it.
playing the game are always
I suck
gonna be
at
more
it.
unpredictable than AI. That simple. But compared to your standard shooters, this game is on another level. Everything is working against you, from the complex controls to the bare bones in
Oh, yeah, it's a great song.
Tutorials for the many complex systems of Escape from Tarkov.
Yeah.
Everything is obtuse and difficult.
do
Just
suck
doing something
at this
basic
one.
like healing requires multiple items
Yeah.
that don't work the way you might think. Even
Nope.
something that would normally be as simple as gun customization is confusing as hell because attachments
there's a
often
lot.
require other attachments to even work. Certain things only work with certain guns, and none of it's explained anywhere. For
No.
most new players, the experience of playing Tarkov is that you
just
drop
have to
into a
know
map with your
guns.
starter equipment, wander around for 10 minutes not knowing what's going on, and then die.
My problem isn't the gun creation or anything like that. It's the combat. Like right there. Where's he getting shot from? He can't see anything. He's just getting shot.
This
He's
game's
not
case,
looking a
it's
whole
just
lot
as
though.
likely to get shot by an AI enemy as another player because the AI in this game is pinpoint accurate.
Oh my
It's
God,
also
they're
an
so
extraction
accurate.
game, so if you die in a mission, you lose everything.
You lose everything.
The best players are rolling around
Yeah.
with modded out weapons and body
I did.
armor, where you're just some chump with a pea shooter against them. Pretty much everything is working against you in this game, and it just dares you to keep playing. For the
Yeah.
right kind of player, it is the perfect game. You got to be willing to put up with a lot of bull, but there is a lot of satisfaction to be had here. But if you're just playing suck, maybe start with
He
some
did. He
slower
disappeared.
stakes. Playing Tarkov
Forever.
as a first shooter is like being a first-time gambler and playing Russian roulette. You don't have to do that to yourself.
Bye, Lordy. He's hurt and dying. He's been shot everywhere in his body. He's gonna die. Oh, he's getting shot again. Oh.
At number 9 is Ghost Runner. So let's roll back to something that's a little
No, I got other
but still
videos I gotta
brutally
watch.
difficult if you're not on the game's wavelength. Ghost Runner is basically
Look at this.
Hotline Miami
Ghost
in
Runner.
first person.
Got
That
it.
means that death comes after
Beat
a
it.
single hit in a game where most enemies have pistols.
It's a tough game.
Worse, even experienced.
It's
FPS
single
players
shot
die
death.
a lot in this one, but if you're not, it's not so much frustrating but fun. It's
It is
just
fun.
frustrating.
It is fun. It is frustrating, but it is fun. If you get shot once, you're dead though.
It's one of those games where you have to kind of have a
Dodge.
built-in muscle memory if you want to get good.
You
and some
really
people are
do.
just going to absolutely hate that. The thing about games like Hotline Miami is it's a pixel art game, top-down view. You can see everything that is coming and plan accordingly.
Wait, which one are we
At least
talking
to
about?
some
Hotline
extent.
Miami,
And
or are we
Ghost Runner,
talking
that's
about
just not
Ghost
the
Runner?
case.
We're talking about
Trapped
Ghost
in
Runner,
first
right?
person, and while sometimes the game lets you look at the area before you go through it, most of the time you're forced to rely on instincts or trial and error to get through some of these fights. Also, Hotline Miami is a lot more mechanically simple than Ghost Runner. Because of first-person view alone, it can be much fiddlier, and it's easy to make mistakes if you're a noob. Or a veteran, for that matter.
Ghost
Easy to
Runner's
make
good, though.
mistakes. It's sort
Easy.
of the playstyle
Easy
that
game.
a lot of FPS players just aren't used to, and it can be a real smack in the face. At the end of the day, it's one of those games that eventually clicks or it doesn't. There's a reason why it's kind of divisive. Some players just don't get used to the game's rhythm, so every enemy is a struggle to get through. It's a game that it does expect a lot from you. Maybe not as much as Tarkov, per se. It's a single-player game, after all, but the level of challenge here can be
Yep.
overwhelming for someone who
Yep.
sucks at video games.
Yep.
Even slow-mo is not going to be enough to save you.
Jump. Dodge. Dodge. It depends. I might not be on.
And number 8 is Rocket League. There's games with high skill ceilings.
Rocket
and then there's
League.
Rocket League might look like a cute little car.
I mean, I've played it. It's
be a lot of fun.
it's
Screw around
okay.
in and stuff, and that's true. It can be. But if you're playing the game for
Me and
real,
Pizza
like
had our
against other
time.
Players, you gotta
Me
throw all
last
those
pizza.
expectations out the window. This is not an easy.
See, I'm
game.
good at
If
Rocket
you play
League,
this
though.
game now. We're all highly skilled, extremely competitive, and know the game inside out. And if you join a team as a little noob who has no idea what they're doing, expect your team to get basically pissed off at you for being
Bye, Lordy.
late.
I'll catch you later. Boop.
If you want to play Rocket League online for real, you have to learn the ins and outs of how to play it. And even at the lower levels, you need to be able to perform some tricky maneuvers. Like it's second nature, to be frank. Otherwise, you're really just of no value.
Yeah, you got to learn that.
And that's just low levels.
The
At high
air
skill
combat
levels,
is
it's unbelievable
ridiculous.
the sort of moves players pull off
Yeah.
in this game. Getting good at it requires a special set of skills that are good for Rocket League, and that's it. They're good for Rocket League. It's a unique game. There's really just nothing quite like it in the multiplayer space, which means there's a hardcore group of players who have been playing this for years,
Yeah.
and they're able to do some truly mind-boggling feats. And by that, I mean they will report you for sucking too hard. Games where you're on your own are bad enough, but when you got a whole team that relies on you to pull your weight, things are going to get worse. This game requires a lot from its players. I mean, look at this beginner's guide on Reddit. Look at this beginner's guide on Reddit. This is a literal dissertation. For most games, getting started means skipping through a few tutorial messages.
It's not
but
that
in Rocket League,
hard.
you got to study up because your first game ever is your
It's hard, but it's not
and if
that
you flunk
hard.
It, you might as well uninstall it.
It's hard to learn all the
And number
maneuvers,
7
but
is
it's pretty
Spelunky
easy.
2. There's plenty of brutal roguelikes out there, but Spelunky 2 is just
I've never played this one.
The first game was rough, but this one cranks the difficulty dial all the way up and snaps it off. Like, it's unbelievable. If you've never seen these games before, they might seem like cute little platformers, but they're actually brutal tests of endurance and mental fortitude. Every little thing wants to kill you. There's traps and enemies everywhere. And you're the world's most fragile platforming character who takes damage from falling a little more than half the screen.
Oh, wow.
And this game is all about going downward. These games revel in cascading failures where unexpected and chaotic things can happen procedurally that pretty much universally lead to death.
Uh-huh. Well, you knew you were dead then.
Roll with it.
I don't hate
That's gonna
2D
be pretty
games.
fun rather than frustrating. But if you're
I
the type
just
that wants to get through
some of them are like,
these games,
eh.
I mean, for a lot of people, absolutely miserable. There's so many ways to die.
Like, this
It
just
forces
does
you to
not
play
look
really
like the type of
cautiously,
game that
but
I would
There's
play.
still going to be so many things
Almost
that just
at all.
happen you don't predict. So you'll end up
Which is
wasting
probably
out
why I
yet
haven't played it.
another unsuccessful run. The original game would start getting serious around the ice caves, the third area out of 4. But Spelunky 2 just wastes no time. They're out to kill you in the first area.
It was
and only
that
gets
Chinese
sadistic from
one.
there. It's a game that's made for masochists that mastered the first game and are looking for a greater challenge, not for newbies looking to start out. Roguelike
Yeah, I can remember. I
aren't
just
good
can't
for
remember the
players
name
who
of it.
Are just starting out, or for people who just kind of suck. There's no auto saves, there's no checkpoints to fall back on. If you die, your progress gets reset, and you have to start again. There are some roguelikes with the progression.
Trek
So, like,
to
dying isn't that bad, but Spelunky 2 is
Yuma?
old school.
Trek
the best
to
you
Yuma?
can get
Is that
is
the-
eventually starting from lower
That was the last
levels,
one I played.
which is not going to help if you
Or
start.
Yoma?
In fact, you'll get killed faster.
Back to Yomi. That one.
And number 6 is Rainbow Six Siege. The thing that makes Siege so newbie unfriendly is just how different it is.
Siege
from
is
a
easy.
traditional shooter.
You just have
yeah,
to
there's
know.
shooting. Everybody's got a gun, but the Siege part is what makes the game tricky. Attacks can come from anywhere. Enemy players can smash over
You just have
doors,
to know
walls,
angles.
break in through ceilings. Attacks
Really all
can
you
come
have to
from
know.
any
It's not that
direction. It all depends on the players you're facing and what abilities they have. Many of the operators' abilities are also just not intuitive, and understanding
be leaning the
how
opposite
each one of those
direction on that.
works, well, it's
Taking from the
necessary
wrong
to do well
angle.
in the game, let's say. It's a complicated game with a lot of moving parts, requires a lot of teamwork
See?
and cooperation to pull out a victory, and for a lot of game modes, dying is a big setback. If you're just running around like an idiot trying to up your KDR, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. It's not that
That
kind
is
of game.
true.
You're going to get torn to pieces by your opponents and your allies for being
Mm-hmm.
worthless. Getting good at Siege means shooting at a high degree of accuracy and having a deep understanding of the game's mechanics.
Yeah.
You need to know how to place traps.
It's not
and
that
ways
bad,
to counter
though.
them. You need to know operator gimmicks and how to disable
down.
them. Not to mention
Shoot into the
understand
hole.
each of the various maps to know when and where other players can and will attack from. I mean, there's a hell of a lot of stuff to know. But if you can't shoot with some degree of accuracy, you might as well give up now. Like, the fast reaction time is still very necessary. There's no class for the sucky players here. No healer or support that can hang back and just play the objectives. You just got to be able to pull it out. Otherwise, you're not
I mean, there
pulling away.
kind of
Rainbow Six
is.
Siege is a hardcore and very, very technical FPS. And if you suck, don't bother. It's not going to be fun for you. And number 5 is Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection. Capcom
Don't
took
know
one of
this
the hardest
one.
games of all time. The original
Ghosts and Goblins?
Yes, and made it way worse. The 2021 follow-up is so hard that it is frankly insulting. You'd think a new version of a classic game would include some modern conveniences to make it a smoother,
It looks
more
nice.
balanced experience, and in a way they did. But they made the game 10 times harder to compensate. Like the first level. The first level is ridiculously hard, and it only gets worse. Right from the first second, the game is just bombarding you with swarms of enemies and unpredictable traps.
Well, you shouldn't have ran forward. You saw 3 of
It's a
them.
brutal gauntlet meant to test your resolve at every step. If you're a masochist, there's a certain satisfaction at dying and dying again, only to finally make a tiny bit of progress. But if you just suck, these kinds of games don't let you progress. You're just slamming your head against a brick wall, and you're kind of like, well, eventually that brick wall is going to break. And if you suck, it's not gonna. You got to know how to break the brick wall. That's the thing about this game. It's not just regular hard. It may be, no joke, one of the hardest games ever. Or at least one of the hardest given a wide release by a major publisher. It cannot be understated how relentlessly dickish this game can be. The original NES game looked like it's for babies. I'm not even kidding either. There's no comparison. We live in an age where tough games are big again. Some of the best-selling, most popular games are very difficult, but Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection, it went overboard. It's just too damn hard. If you suck at platformers, stay far, far away from this one.
Ooh. Ooh.
And number 4 is Sekiro. Yeah, kind of cliche.
That
to
looks
bring this one up
interesting.
at this point, but there's a reason for that. This game is really damn.
Sekiro.
If you want to
I've
play any
played
glitches
it.
in this
I've
game,
beat
you
it
gotta
twice.
Parries and counters. That's the name of the game. Timing is everything in this
See?
game. Death can come in literally seconds. Doesn't
See?
take a lot of hits to get wiped out. And even with additional lives,
Too easy.
that's where the subtle shadows die twice comes from. It's still a ball-busting experience. It's one of those games that can eventually be mastered, but when you're just starting out, even the most...
He looks like an Asian Orlando Bloom. Kind of,
I was
yeah.
struggling for way too long.
I mean, yeah, you
It's the
struggle
first
a bunch.
ogre
Oh my
phase.
god,
It's
yes.
like this stupid thing was impossible, but
Yeah.
with enough perseverance, even a chump with bad reflexes can get through.
That's true.
The most important skill to learn in this game is pattern
Yeah,
recognition.
yeah, you
Bar
just
none.
gotta
You
know
gotta
the
observe
patterns.
enemies, figure out the exact right time to counter. And if you can do that, you can get pretty good in Sekiro. But if you're impatient and try to spam the block command too often, it's going to get really frustrating really fast. Not to say that spamming block doesn't ever work, because it actually does,
It does.
a lot of the time in a pinch. But if you can get the timing right to properly parry enemy attacks,
Yeah.
you're going to do better at this
Perfect
game overall.
parry.
It's just really tough. No matter how good you think you are at the beginning, you're probably still going to die a lot because that's the kind of game it is. It's an unforgiving...
Yeah, that is for the win, for real.
If you're still a beginner, it's not going to be fun to play Sekiro unless you really like to die over and over again.
Yeah, you
Maybe
really
you
have
do.
to die a
I don't
bunch.
know. And maybe you learn best by jumping into the deep end. No,
No,
judgment
get
if
away
that's
from
the
him.
case,
Your
but you
stamina
can
bar's
learn.
about to break. Yikes.
And number 3 is League of Legends. I'm putting League in the title, but this is really a catch-all for every Dota and Dota-like out there. For as popular as these games are, they are not kind to players who suck. There's a term for them in the community, feeders. And if you are one,
Feeders,
you're not gonna be
yeah.
popular. If you
Nah,
got a bad
people
player
hate
on your
you if
team
you're a
in regular
feeder.
game like Call of Duty or something, having a crappy player is
That's
bad.
funny.
But in these games, anytime one of your team
It's
dies,
not
it's
hard.
not just a setback for
I'm
you,
trying
it's
to
a
think
boost
of,
for
like, how to
your
put it.
enemies.
It's not hard. It can be. Your main thing is going to be to stay near the towers so that you can keep up with your HP.
To be fair, though, it's very easy to be bad at these games. There's
It
tons of
is.
heroes or legends or whatever the game wants to call them, each with their own mechanics,
Yeah.
abilities, and counters. Learning to play as one of these guys is like learning to play a
You do.
fighter.
You have to learn how to play
Except
one.
that in Dotas, there's hard counters depending on who
Yep.
you're playing as. You're always at a disadvantage against certain players. So
See,
you
like,
can't
he's
just
at half
learn your
health.
own guy's strengths and weaknesses.
And he's at
You
least
have to have a
regaining
broad
health,
knowledge of
which is
how
good.
everything works. There's a hell of a lot
He
you
needs to
need
stay
know
out of
going
combat
into
to
one of these
refill his
games.
health bar.
And even though they're top down, there's still a certain amount of precision and skill required to play effectively. For certain types
And it's
of players,
fine what
it's
this
a real
guy's doing.
thrill,
He's
but it can
staying
also be
near
frustrating as
the-
hell, and that's if you're good at these games.
The
If you're
tower,
bad
the
at it,
enemy
well, it's
tower.
pretty much all misery.
Which
It's
is
one of those
fine.
games we're playing badly
As long as you
it's
have
bad for you, it's
minions
bad
that
for
are
everybody.
attacking it with you. See how he's channeling? He's going back because his health is super low. That's perfect. It's not hard. You just need to stay alive. And that's the hardest part about these. Now, he should be getting out of there. It's a 3v1 situation. He should be running. I don't know what he's trying to fight it.
At number 2 is
I would not
Grand
be fighting
Poo
that.
World 3. Forget sucking at video games. You shouldn't play this if you're good. Being good isn't enough for Grand Poo World 3. You've got to be a Mario god to even get through the first stage. And it only gets tougher from there. Ever hear of Kaizo? This game is that. A Kaizo is a hack where the game is pushed to its absolute limit for difficulty. These
Never heard of
designed
this.
to be possible, but only for the most degenerate pain junkies. Death is literally everywhere in these things. Surviving means basically playing perfect. And because Mario games are momentum based, that means the perfect movement is way, way harder. Stopping means losing momentum, which means you can't do it anymore. It becomes impossible. So what else do I really need to say here? Look at this mess. There's spikes everywhere. All the jumps are pixel.
You gotta jump off.
You gotta do counterintuitive tricks to survive. And of course, there's the troll traps everywhere, like invisible blocks, meant to catch you off guard. It's
you gotta
the
jump back to
pinnacle in terms of game difficulty.
Jump back to
and
it.
If you suck at games,
you gotta
just
jump
stick
back
to
the
the
first
regular
platform.
Super Mario World. This is
First platform.
insanity.
Okay. Go back to the first
finally,
platform.
At number 1, Dudonpachi Daioju. A fun name to say, a hard game to play.
Never
As insane as
heard of this
like
one.
Grand Poo World are, people did manage to complete them, and relatively quickly too. Want to know how long?
Oh
it took
my
somebody to beat
God.
This game? 7 years. 7
years?
Or at least that's how long it took to beat the Death Label mode. But that doesn't mean the rest of the game's easy. Far from it. This is one of the hardest shoot-'em-ups ever made. It's the definition of a bullet hell. These games are defined by one thing and one thing only: tons and tons of
It looks like
You're somehow supposed to avoid this wall.
what's that damn game that I played all the way through?
These games are designed to be as unrelentingly
It's
difficult
newer.
as possible. The level of
Undertale?
challenge on display here is utterly absurd.
そこ全破壊を確認しました確認しましたぐるみががされたら赤いボタンねまたもっと磁気可動臨界点まで
You can count your playtime in seconds at times. It's just overwhelming how much crap this game throws at you. I think it's safe to say that if you're not any good at shmups, stay far, far away from
Yeah, I'm not good
These
with
games are designed for only the most.
I'm not good at
dedicated
these
players.
games.
You got to be willing to put
Took me a while to beat Undertale.
just to make
The Mario thing?
These games are about as close as a game can be to impossible while still being technically beatable by a human being. And if that sounds like the opposite of fun to you, you should probably avoid it. There are shmups out there that are new player friendly. They aren't all this monstrously difficult, but in general, it's a genre for
Holy
people
crap,
who are
I can't
willing to
even
put up with
imagine
some pretty
countering
old-school
that.
design.
I would need
And
to
as I said,
hyper-focus so
generally
bad.
Pretty hard. This game just so happens to be one of the hardest. Sucky players need not apply. There's nothing to be gained here. Believe me. That's all for today. Leave us a comment. Let us know
That
what you
looked
think. If you like this
ridiculous.
video, click
I did not
like
play
and
Vampire
subscribe.
Survivors.
It's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos.
Subscribe to Game Ranks
Best way to see them
to make
first
good
is, of course,
gaming content.
subscription, So click subscribe. Don't forget to enable all notifications. And as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero. And we'll see you next time.
Falcon the
right here on
Hero.
Game Ranks.
So I agree with the Tarkov thing, but the rest of them, and that last one, because I've never played that. But most of those games were relatively easy. As long as you know the basic game mechanics, you should be fine.